The truth lies not in the field of right and wrong. The truth is more subtle. To see the truth, we need to get up, turn around, wipe the sand from our hands, and walk away from this sandbox over to the swings. The world looks different when I'm swinging high. The lower truth of the sandbox does not matter anymore. I use the word sandbox not to put anyone down, but to paint a clear image. It takes integrity to stand up and walk away. It takes integrity to walk tall within. In the past weeks and months, I've been asked, why don't you speak up? Isn't this the time when people like you need to help others deal with the situation? Or if you don't speak up, the other side will win. Or be yourself. I think to myself, how can I help now? It is, generally speaking, too late to help now, or too early. I will share here, though, a tiny wee fraction, just about 1% of what I see when I look at the sandbox from my perspective. Maybe, just maybe after all, it will help someone. Firstly, there are people who tend to believe in those who put food on their table and a roof over their head. They believe in the matrix that sustains them. And as a child, even if you are being abused by your parents, you still believe in them because they love you in a warped way, yes, and they can rule and direct you because of the basic primal instinctual needs of food, community, and shelter that they do provide. A physically, psychologically, or emotionally abused child may spend years until it connects the word abuse with its childhood experience. Abused spouses will take years until they can break from, from their marriage. And it takes an average of 7 attempts to leave an abusive marriage. We also know this from the Stockholm Syndrome. Captives will fall in love with their terrorist guards because this is the relationship that provides food and a roof. And generally, women do fall in love with power. If your food is provided by the money you earn from pharmaceutical companies, scientific institutions, IT companies, government, or the military, you will believe in them at first, at least. You will believe that vaccines, science, AI, laws, and guns will protect and save you. If your community, the people that surround and sustain you, is with those pharmaceutical, scientific, IT, government, or military institutions, you will most likely believe in that matrix. That is, of course, until you realize that the matrix you have been caught in is abusive. It does not care about you enough to keep you healthy and empower you. So, do I tell the scientists, the IT people, the educators, the government clerks, and soldiers that they are working for an unhealthy and out of balance, even abusive system? Of course not. No, for 3 reasons. At least 3 reasons. Firstly, you cannot argue with someone whose beliefs are not their own. The origin of their beliefs come from parents, teachers, advertisement, media, and bosses. People are not capable of hearing anything but the voice that has been ingrained in their head. Secondly, these people have faith in the system, and faith that the system will save them. And with this hope and faith, there is not much fear. Why would I remove people's faith and instill fear? Fear certainly does not promote health. And thirdly, a severe identity crisis may develop with the realization that the very people and systems you trust are possibly betraying you or abusing you. When you realize you've identified with a system that is possibly evil and even psychopathic to various degrees, claiming to be there for you, but in essence callous and there to take advantage of you, you then begin to question everything. You are disillusioned. You question your own integrity. You feel betrayed. These are rough feelings and thoughts to go through. Very rough. You question who you are. You question the actions you've taken in the past. And how can you love who you are when you've betrayed yourself? It takes integrity to walk tall within. What I can say is that many others have also been betrayed. They also believed in the good of the Matrix, and in a way that helped to fool you. You didn't see the core. You didn't see to the essence of what is happening. Just like we so often do not see the core and the essence of people. We judge by our own concepts and experiences rather than by the frequency of the essence. And then, secondly, there are the people who believe in the systems that provide them with hope and a belief system. Usually the spiritual, esoteric, new age, shamanic, conspiracy, alternative industry, whatever you call it. And this industry is bigger than the pharmaceutical industry. The abuse in these systems is huge. I see these people fighting in fear of what might happen. Their hopes are being smashed, and it is precisely this group of people that is playing into duality, even though this is most often contrary to their wishes. With their anger, fears, and worries, they too are playing in the same sandbox. It takes integrity to stand up and walk away. It takes integrity to walk tall within. I am using the word integrity here in the sense of being whole. And to be whole, we need to weave together our inner strengths like a braid, where one strand represents the mind, one represents the heart, and one strand represents the body. And the strongest force of the mind is the force of focus, combined with clear intention. That is the most powerful use of our mind. The mind is not there primarily to store knowledge and obey the outside world, but to bring focus and intention to the force of the heart. The strongest force of the heart is the tiny wee portal when it's open. That portal that leads to the pure light of love, the portal to other planes, with the love of light shining through. The strongest force of the body is the force of creation. It is the force connected to creation from the field of unity consciousness through the portal in the heart. Here is a view from my perspective. In my world, there is a singular consciousness, a unity consciousness. Erwin Schrödinger, the famous quantum physicist, called it the one mind. He said, the total number of minds in the universe is one. In fact, consciousness is a singularity phasing within all beings. Rumi phrased this in a more poetic way. He said, beyond ideas of wrong and right, there lies a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. And I could go on quoting quantum physicists, sacred texts, and poets alike, but you could also just find your own sources. The singular consciousness spoken of is a place I go to often these days. After all, I do have the time for that. There is no right or wrong, no good or bad, no worries or cares, no judgment, no dogmas. And every once in a while I notice I get caught in the material reality of duality consciousness, but generally I keep the portal that connects materialized reality to the singular consciousness open as much as I possibly can. From this singular consciousness that lies beyond the tiny portal in your heart, everything is created. First in oneness, but when the portal between oneness consciousness and the material world closes, then we create solely from the mind. And when we create from the mind, from what I want and what I don't want, then we create duality. And from this higher perspective of singular consciousness, it is not possible to get upset or fight for or against anything. It is not your fight anymore. And from this higher perspective, all is well. From this higher perspective, I see a sandbox world in duality consciousness. And in duality consciousness, we are creating from the mind that judges, beliefs, fears, and worries. It has been said before, and I am just repeating from those who knew before I did. We have to go within to know the truth. We have to go through that portal in our heart to the singular consciousness, the unity consciousness, to know the full truth. We have to leave the outside matrix to know the truth. You may have many ifs and buts, and they all come from a mind with no access through the portal in the heart to the singularity field. You might argue, but we do live in this duality and must fight on this level. As long as this is your belief system, then that is true for you. It is the truth in the sandbox. And we are limited by our beliefs, limited by the edges of the sandbox. But there is a truth more subtle, A truth that we can only see when we get up, turn around, and walk away from the sandbox. A truth we can only access when we have found the way through the portal. So now I have spoken, after all.